Okay, I think it's working now. All right, so we're going to look at, like I said, points, lines, and planes. These are the, like I said, three undefined terms in geometry. Okay, but what we do is we use these three undefined terms to define everything else. Like we talked about, these are kind of the basic building blocks of everything else we're going to study in geometry. Okay, so we need to at least come up with a kind of a basic description of each one of them. Okay, how do you identify one? How do you know if you have one? And how do they work? And what do they look like? And that sort of thing. So, first couple are fairly straightforward. A point. Okay, what does a point look like? A dot. Okay, so looks like a dot. And kind of more importantly, though, it has no size. Okay, so it is like infinitely small. It's tiny. Okay, has no size to it technically. Okay, it's like marking a spot on a map, but it's not actually like physically dropping a big circle on the map. It's just has no size. It's just a location kind of a thing. Okay, so that's a point. All right, a line. Okay, can anybody describe what a line looks like? You can't describe something with itself, though. You can't say a line is a line. Well, that's helpful. A moving dot. Ooh, that's good. A very long dot. Is that what you said? Okay, I like those kind of ideas. You guys are close. Technically, what it is, it's a collection of an infinite number of points all lined up next to each other. Okay, that's a line. So it's a it's an infinite number of points extended in two directions. So I think probably the for me to describe that would be like pretend this pencil like technically had no like thickness to it, okay? And then this like the eraser side of the pencil like it just kept going, and the little lead part of the pencil it just kept going, infinitely long that way and that way. That would be a line. A line just keeps going, doesn't stop, okay? So infinite number of points keeps extending in two directions, okay? And then our third undefined term is plane. Anybody know what a plane is? Other than the ones that fly through the air? It's a flat surface, good. And kind of like a line. You know, a line extends forever in two directions. A plane extends everywhere, multiple directions, yeah, infinitely. So like this piece of paper, if I could keep it nice and flat, all right? Pretend like this is a plane, okay? Except it wouldn't just be this piece of paper. It wouldn't be defined by the edges around it. It would keep going in every direction. So like pretend like the piece of paper keeps going that way, keeps going this way, keeps going that way, slices right through the middle of me, okay? That's a plane. It's infinitely large. Just keeps going everywhere. So it's like a giant flat surface with no end, okay? I think it's probably the best way to describe it. So it's a flat surface with no end. Just keeps going. Okay? So those are our three undefined terms, and we use those guys to help describe everything else. Okay? And there's a couple of other things we're actually going to talk about today that these help describe. And so we'll talk about those next. So that would be a ray and a line segment. And a lot of times when we use the word line, people think line segment. Okay? So we got to be careful about referring to the correct one. So what do you suppose a line segment is. What does the word segment mean? I think you were first. Yeah. Part of. Okay, so it's a little piece of a line. Okay, so a line segment would be like this pencil again, if it's infinitely thin, right? But it doesn't keep going forever in both directions. It starts and it stops. Okay, it has endpoints on it. Okay, that's a line segment. So, line segment, piece of a line. And has endpoints. Has two of them. Has a start and a stop. Every line segment does. Okay, now related to the line segment is array. Anybody tell me what array is? How's that different? Nope, a line segment has two endpoints. It just has one, right? So think of it this way. Again, my pencil, okay? It's extending infinitely in both directions, so it's a line. If I chop off one side of it, so it starts at the eraser and then keeps going forever in that one direction, that's array. It has a starting point, but it has no end point, okay? That's array. So again, piece of a line, right? It's still a piece of a line. But it has one end point. Or you can think of it as a starting point if you want. It doesn't have to be an end point. But continues forever in the other direction. All right, so we've got our three undefined terms, point, line, and plane, and our other defined ones, line, segment, and ray. These are the guys we're going to talk about today. How do we name them? How do we draw them? How do we show intersections of them? All that stuff, so we can start working with them a little bit more. So let's talk about naming and drawing next. Okay, so for a point, come on, are you serious? Break my lead 3 times in a row there. Okay, so a point. Just remember, it looks like a dot, right? And we name each point with one uppercase letter. So this would be the point A. Okay? And that's exactly how you would say it. It is point A. Pretty straightforward. Okay? The only thing that you really have to remember about naming points, and this is a technicality thing, I know, but they have to be uppercase. Anytime you name a point, it has to be uppercase. Now, a little trickier. To draw a line, you basically just draw a line segment, but then to show that it keeps going in both directions, we put little arrowheads on it. Okay, so that would be a picture of a line and kind of indicating what directions it's going. A couple of ways you can name a line. One way is using points that the line goes through. Okay, like we said, a line is an infinite number of points all next to each other. Okay, so if we had 2 of those that we had labeled, so let's say this is the point B and this is the point C, I could call this line BC. I have to use 2 points to do it, though. Okay. So you could do it like that, line BC, or the way that you're probably going to see it more often is a little notation for it. If we do BC, and then we just draw a little line, put two little arrowheads on top of it, like that. That's the more common way of describing it. Okay, have you guys seen that before? That notation? Good. Okay. Anybody know a different way we could name it with the points other than BC? Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter the order. You could do it the other way too. Okay. So we'll just put that in there just so you know. And like on a quiz or a test or something, name this line in like 3 different ways. Okay, so there's 2. You could just switch the order. That's 2 different ways you could do it. Any 2 points you have on the line will work. Okay, so if you have more than 2, if you have 3, 4, 5, whatever, just pick your 2 favorite, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as you're using 2 points that are on the line, you can name it that way. Okay. Another way to name a line, not as often that we'll do it this way, but it can be done. Sometimes we want to just give a line a name not based on the points that it goes through. We just want to give it its own name. Call it something different. In that case, we can use a letter, but it has to be an italicized letter. Like if I did, and you would put the letter just kind of next to it. So that's like a italicized L there, okay? So that would be then the line L. You could just call it one letter. But it's not the points. It's its own little italic letter next to it. So this would be line L. Okay? You do not do this. No. If you're going to name it with the one little italicized letter next to it, you can't use that other notation. It's just not an accepted way of doing it for whatever reason. Okay? So don't do that. That's a common mistake a lot of people make with them. So